Today I'm going to be sharing how you can use a Cricut to make this sign that can turn into this. Hey there, welcome back. If we haven't met yet, my name is Tiffany. I'm a Washington realtor who has a love for creating beautiful spaces on a budget. Several years back when we bought and renovated our home, I knew I wanted a really large gather sign for our dining room, but when I went to go find that sign, A, I couldn't find one that was the right dimensions, and B, the closest option was going to be over $200. So I decided my best option was going to be to make it. And recently I had a bit of an aha moment when I realized I might as well be making my wood signs reversible. You may be able to do this with signs you already own, or thrifted signs, or if like me, you had really specific dimensions you were looking for, you can make it yourself. I want to thank Cricut for sponsoring today's video. Later, I'll be sharing more about how I used my Cricut machine to create this, but for now, let's head off to the hardware store.
Here I'm picking up some 1x2 boards, and these are going to be for the frame of the sign. They do offer pre-cut boards, but you'll end up paying a little bit more for those. We opted for two 8-foot boards for this project. Most hardware stores offer pre-cut plywood. One great option is to pick up one of these 1/2-inch 2x4 sheets. The nice thing about these is they have a wide edge, so you can glue and nail your frame directly to that. But apparently we like to do things the hard way, so we opted for one of these thin 4x8 utility panels. Keep in mind that if you don't have a vehicle that's great for transporting large wood pieces, or if you don't have the tools to cut them at home, normally they're willing to cut it down to your desired size if you just ask. Because we opted to make our sign out of that thin utility panel, we're going to be attaching it to our frame by creating a groove in the wood. So we're doing that by running it through the table saw multiple times, turning it each time we run it through until it is the thickness of our sign. For years, I've had a Cricut machine that was made in 2006, and it still did work great, but it had some limitations. So recently I upgraded to the Cricut Maker 3. So I'm gonna be sharing how I, as a beginner with this machine, was able to create that large reversible sign. Once in Cricut's design space, I clicked on canvas and went down to shapes. I then added a square, and this is going to represent your sign. So you'll want to go up to the top there, hit that unlock button, and enter the inner dimensions of your sign. Down on the bottom left, you can zoom out so you can view the design as a whole. On the left-hand side there, you'll see that text button. Enter in your text, select your size and font. Once I had settled on that shape has served its purpose, so we're gonna go ahead, select that, and delete it. Because this design is too large to cut all together, we're going to slice it into sections that we can later piece together on that sign. Now you're going to add another shape back in. This is going to act as a template and represent the cutting limitations of your machine. Because I have a machine that is capable of matless cutting with that smart vinyl, the max width on that is going to be 11 3/4 inches. If your machine is not capable of matless cutting, you still can do this, but your cuts will look different. The outer edges or the perimeter of that shape are where we are going to be slicing the design. To keep that shape from covering up your text or your design, you can right click and select send to back. Here I'm zooming in to confirm that the edges of this shape are in fact where I want to slice this word. I then right clicked on that shape and duplicated it. Once your design is fully covered, you'll just want to zoom in and double check that your shapes are butted up against each other and that they're not overlapping and that there aren't any gaps. In order to slice something, you have to select 2 layers. Sometimes when I'm trying to select a particular piece, especially if I have things layered on top of each other, I find it easiest to use that right-hand column to select it. Here I'm selecting one of my shapes, holding down the Shift key and selecting my text. Then go down to the bottom and hit Slice. Then repeat the process with another one of the shapes and the remaining text. By process of elimination, the remaining text has already been sliced. Now that your design is sliced, you can go ahead and remove those shapes and any excess pieces. Then you're ready to go to the top right there and hit Make. One feature of the Maker 3 that I love is that you can cut really long pieces. I also appreciate that it measures out your material before it starts cutting. And here I ended up not having enough on my roll. It let me know. I went back in and sliced this again between the A and the T. I was then able to have it cut those separate and piece them together. I then went back and repeated the process, creating a design for the other side. I was about to wrap that up and I decided I wanted to add a little something more to it. So I went over to images and found this curvy piece. And I attached those pieces to my text by holding Shift, selecting the pieces that I wanted together, going down to Combine and selecting Weld. Before weeding the vinyl or removing the unwanted part of the design, I find it helpful to cut away as much as I can. I find that it makes the process a little bit easier when there's less material to work with. Also, you can use those cut-off pieces later on a mat if you have a small design that you want to cut. Another thing that I found to be helpful, especially with large designs like this, is to roll my transfer tape out sticky side up, flipping my design over and sticking it down to it. I also like to use parchment paper as a barrier between my design and my sign. This allows me to take my time measuring and getting things exactly where I want them. I painted one side of my sign white and one side Sherwin-Williams iron ore. Using my pin nailer, I attached this frame at the edges. I also ran some nails from the front of the frame to the back and through the sign, so this is nice and solid. After touching up that wood filler with some stain markers, this project is complete. I'll have links to everything used in this video, including these designs, down in the description box. Thank you guys so much for joining me here. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.